Welcome, Otaku's. It's your tour guide here, and this is a special video because anytime we get to feature Jim Lee, I feel like it's really what like why I'm collecting what I collect. Everything revolves around Jim Lee. Now, when I got into comic books, it's not like Jim Lee got me into comic books. In fact, I think one of the first comic books I've ever picked up was the Secret Wars series, which Mike Zeck did the cover art for that. And so like that to me um, were some of my first memories of collecting, or not collecting, sorry, of just enjoying comic books because I had a few issues in that run, just read the heck out of them. The covers came off. Also, the GI Joe comics. I had the GI Joe comics. I had the like the silent issue, the origin of Snake Eyes, and those got read to the point where the covers came off and all that. So yeah, even if I had kept those in the collection, uh, they would have been beat up copies. But that was when I was like very young. And I didn't really collect at that age, but I had a few books, again, right around, the early 80s. And then right around middle school, I got into like classic X-Men. I got into the X-Men. That was during the like Sylvester run. I picked up like, Dark Knight Returns, Frank Miller. That was just like mind blowing. Then I started, like Batman became really popular. So I remember reading this collection of the greatest Batman stories ever. And it went all the way from Golden Age to present. Um, just classic. I don't, remember like specifics, but I remember reading that and just getting like a good, strong knowledge of Batman. And again, that was like a precursor to all this Batman stuff that was coming out. Um, and by that time, so right around that time, I would say like 89, 1989, 90 is when, Jim Lee started doing X-Men and Todd started doing Amazing Spider-Man. It was just right around that time. And that's when we really started collecting. So I was picking up a lot of books at that time, like, X-Men had just launched volume two. Um, I was picking up, like X-Force, that was really big. Spider-Man, the it just come out as well. The volume two of Spider-Man. Web of Spider-Man was something that I'd been reading throughout, and it was just like, yeah, it was fun, and like I wasn't collecting to like invest or I just knew it was kind of like collecting cards. You like were collecting because they had some value. You looked up the price and the price tag. They were like things of value that you wanted to add to the collection, and so obviously for me, like the older books, like the John Byrne run of X-Men at that time. Not that it was priced like out of range, but for like a kid with no income, those $20 wall books were still a lot of money back then, but nothing compared to what those prices are now. Um, but yeah, it was just fun to go to the LCS, and you could still pick up comics at the, the the convenience stores on the spinner racks. Those are still around in the late 80s. Um, yeah, I think our like one of our you know, like Albertsons even had like a magazine and comic section, I recall. Not that I ever picked up comics there. Usually I just would go to the comic shop and just pick up like back issues and stuff like that. Some of the newer comics we pick up off the rack, but generally it was like I try to pick up like back issues and stuff that interested me. So we got, you know, I kind of potpourri mix of stuff. I think I collected like, or just I had issues of like Batman Grendel. I had like some of the early Aliens comics. Yeah, a lot of dark horse stuff like Predator. What else did I have? Again, I wasn't spending all that much on comics, so it was just like just a very small collection of books that kind of grew and grew. And then as I got to like, I think my senior year in college, I started buying some of the wall books. I started targeting some of the higher price books. We were able to add that. And then that's when I also became cognizant of grading and like just keeping really my comics in pristine condition and not opening them up and reading them, just storing them and stuff. So I just became kind of more knowledgeable about books. Now, that didn't stop me from reading them. Like a lot of the image books I picked up, even though I kept them in bags and boards, I would take them out from time to time and read them. So, but I would be very careful about it so that the condition wouldn't be affected all that much. But yeah, anyway, I picked up 17 Jim Lee books on this particular haul. And, you know, the majority of the books, again, came from the Ancient Comics in the mall visit that one day where I picked up. And then you have a few books here and there that I picked up at half price books. So all in all, again, 17 books that we added. They're all Jim Lee cover books for the most part, I believe. Yeah, they're all Jim Lee cover books. If you pick up anything where like Jim Lee was... actually, they're not all Jim Lee cover books. We have one book where Jim Lee was the penciler, but not the cover artist. So, which is a pretty rare. You don't see that. I got another book like that where Neil Adams is the cover artist and Jim Lee did the interiors, but rarely do you see that dynamic where he's doing interiors and not doing the cover. It's usually they usually get him to do the cover and then some other artist because he's selling the book, right? So, but anyway, yeah. So we have one book in this pile where he's not the cover artist, but it is his book. So we'll get right into the haul, and yeah, again, I think in terms of what we picked up here, there are some pretty significant books, I would say. So we'll get into probably, I do want to designate probably one book of the haul, and I don't know if it'll be last in the pile, but I'll definitely, when we get to it, I'll point it out and say that this is going to be the Jim Lee book of the haul. So, but again, it's not in terms of my overall Jim Lee collection, but it's not like something that majorly sticks out. But they're all just kind of minor Jim Lee keys, or minor. Yeah, I would say they're just what's the word I'm looking for? The minor keys, essentially. All right, we'll be back. I'm going to feature go through the run together. Okay, so we're back, and in this haul, what I'm going to try to avoid saying is this is a great cover, this is an iconic cover, and all that. So just know that's why we pick up Jim Lee. It's definitely something it's a theme you're gonna see over and over again. It's a motif for why I collect Jim Lee. he has just amazing covers. So uh, amazing covers is sort of a given in this. So I'm gonna try to stick to kind of like we're going back. We're starting closer to the present, and we're just going to go back. And this will end up being sort of like, yeah, just a feature of, because I think this haul, its cover is really like almost his entire career. I mean, it's not every book, but in terms of years, we start here with Superman Unchained, which he did in 2013. And this is a book where he did not only the cover, but the interiors. So it's significant. But this particular run of Superman, I do have issue with the suit design. And I think I mentioned it earlier. But again, this is issue number 3, Scott Snyder, Jim Lee, third edition, the run. Nothing special about this direct edition. And yeah, this Superman Unchained is an interesting run, again, with the character design. I think so I'm just going to show you here. This is the second issue. I picked this up earlier, but just to illustrate the point I'm trying to make, the suit design here is a uniform color design. And the boots are kind of more subdued in terms of the reds. And yeah, it's a weird look. I don't like this look for Superman. Now, Jim Lee did a great job illustrating, again, the illustration is superb. It's just, I think, the suit, they altered the suit, they altered the look of Superman, and that didn't sit well with me. Fortunately, though, they decided to rectify that and bring back the original look. I mean, it's a modification of the original look still, but it stays truer to that. This, though, is, I would call, the blue phase of Superman, like literally the blue, where he's just in a blue suit with no red undies. And yeah, so again, happy to see the red undies back. And we picked up Superman Unchained number 3. This was for 25 cents. Good value there. We picked up the director's cut. This is a one-shot director's cut. I guess you could call it the reprint. This is not the sketch variant that has the high value. This is just, I guess it said, a reprint of, yeah, just a reprint of the first book. So, and with a different, like, sort of sketch transitioning into colored version, which is actually a really nice effect. I'm glad I have this because it kind of combines the best of both. I am still looking to pick up the colored version of this, the number 1, but this is a happy addition as well. So number 1, Superman Unchained number 1. Again, the Superman Unchained came back out in September 2013, and you don't really see Jim Lee doing a lot in terms of the interiors. I think I spoke with someone online about this recently. We were discussing whether we thought Jim Lee would come back and do another run in Batman or Superman, which I think he will. It remains to be seen. It seems like he doesn't have the bandwidth right now to do it because he's doing all these things from a creative standpoint that wouldn't give him the freedom. He's overseeing every book at DC as the creative director, so that's a pretty demanding role. Also, he's doing a lot of stuff through social media and online and attending shows and signing events, and so he's pretty much swamped, I would say, on top of probably trying to do covers here and there and fan service. So yeah, right now I would say he doesn't have the bandwidth to do it. But having said that, I doubt he can keep up this pace of activity, and at some point he's probably gonna take a well-deserved break from things. And I know at some point as well, he will get that itch. He'll get the itch, not just to draw, but the itch to do a run, because he's been doing it for so long. And when you step back and you take when you're just doing covers and all that, I imagine as an artist that, again, that itch comes back. You'll want to do it. And it's not like one of those things where you're an athlete and you just, over time, you just physically can't do it anymore. This is something you can continue to do well into like your later years, and have a high degree of, you're developed at that time. So you're just kind of doing everything with muscle memory at that point. And Jim Lee has a lot of stored muscle memory, so it's not like you're going to see quality fall off. So hopefully again, when he has the bandwidth and he gets that itch, we will see him return. Great cover. The next book we picked up, this one we picked up for $2 as well. This is a really clean copy of Infinite Crisis number 7. Great Green Lantern core cover here by Jim Lee with like Superman, like multiple Supermen. Anyway, very interesting cover. Just a very busy cover as well. A lot of, you get kind of foreground, background kind of action going on. Yeah, very interesting. But I know this series is heating up because of, I think, issue 3 in this run, is it? Where you have the first Blue Beetle appearance. Jaime Reyes is becomes the Blue Beetle. It's his first appearance. So this entire run is sort of heating up, and we'll just have to see how that plays out. This is a book from 2006. So again, this is another book where, yeah, I mean, this was before Jim was became an executive there. Just another great DC book he was working on. We did a lot of the variant covers on this particular run back in 2006. Great cover. All right, so next we picked up Justice League number 11. This is a book where he did the interiors. He worked with Geoff Johns. Geoff Johns on this run. Really key run. Another, and Superman suit is not to be desired on this particular one, but you know, it is what it is. 2012 comic book, but I like all the covers that are in this run, especially this one here with Flash there in the foreground. Anyway, happy to pick that up. Now, this is the book I was referencing in terms of Jim Lee did not do the artwork or the cover. This cover art was done by Sam Keith of Max fame. Max. And this was a book called Darker Image, and it was a collaboration with Sam Keith, Jim Lee, and Rob Liefeld, and featured, you know, featured Death Blow, featured a Rob Liefeld character, and then of course the Max, Sam Keith's the Max. And so this is a key just because it's a first issue sort of, and it's, you know, three really iconic artists kind of collaborating on this book. And yeah, I picked this one up for 25 cents. I would say it has, you know, $3 to $5 value. So it's a pretty clean copy. Good pickup. I picked up another copy. So there's two, as you can probably see it in there. There's two copies of Death Blow. This one is, I picked it up for 25 cents, and I think is actually the better copy. I think this is the better copy than what we picked up previously. But either way, for 25 cents, first issue Death Blow, I figured, why not? It's not like I invested a lot, and it's not like, even if it doesn't go up, for me, it has that nostalgic value of just when I was collecting. And, you know, I think all these first edition Jim Lee image books, for me, have value. I think it's what image represents. Now, obviously, they just printed the bejesus out of all these, and that print count is really what caused comic books to lose their value during this era. So they're not worth much. They will never be worth much. But what I'm saying is, in terms of collectability and significance, all these books just hold a lot of value for the era, for what they represented in comics. This was just a revolution. It was an artist revolution. And so when you have issues like this, number ones, with these great gimmicky covers, you know, like if you look at there, you can see it's 90s are just all about gimmicks and trying to get you to think, oh, this, you know, like number one, or you know, this was really where the proliferation of variant covers happened, and they're just using all kinds of things to get you to buy books, things that are still being used today to sell books, and things still being used today to get people to get to ooh and ah and get excited about buying books. I mean, this technique, if this technique ever dies, that's the death of comic books, right? But I feel like it was perfected in the 90s by these artists who just had absolute artistic control about what they could do in comic books. They really weren't limited by some kind of editor or publisher. They're always kind of pushing the edge within reason, something that you didn't see over at DC and Marvel. So I also picked up a good fair amount of Wildcat books, Jim Lee cover for Wildcat books. This is a great Jim Lee cover here, Wildcats number 11. And there's 2 books in here. Not sure what that book, and I don't think I picked that up. Picked up number 3, the Wildcats Run. Now, I think I mentioned in the previous video that we were targeting that prismatic foil cover for Wildcats number 2. Did not find it in the quarter bins, but we got close. We got number 3. We got number 10. This is just a beautiful cover. Just absolutely gorgeous cover. We also got 8. I'm not gonna, take the comic out. We got another copy of 8 back there. We also got a copy of 5. Another copy of 5. This one needs to be pressed because there's it's non-color breaking, but it's just a bend in the book there. If we press that out, it's a minty book. So we picked up 5. We also picked up, this next book is a pretty special book just because it's of its rarity. We picked up a Stormwatch, but the newsstand edition. So yeah, I mean, newsstand edition is going to be a little bit more rare. This is still a highly printed book, but I would say it's about 1/10 of the print run of the direct edition. So I'd put this value at around $5, maybe 10. Just a great first cover. So if I can pick up more of these kinds of books, again, the Image, but the newsstand editions. I am hoping to pick up a newsstand edition of Wildcats 1. Maybe a variant edition of the Death Blow again. And any other, subsequent newsstand editions of Wildcats would be awesome to pick up as well. I'm just trying to check and see if I have any. No, it looks like this is the only Image newsstand edition we were able to pick up. But man, condition's great on this one. Really happy to have added this. I mentioned in my previous video where I delineate copper and modern. So this book to me represents one of the first modern books. This book came out in '93, March of '93. So it really is in that range of like some of the first Image books that came out. And the reason that delineation is significant is because I think when you saw that movement of artists who really took control of their content, the ownership of their content, which is now, I think that's something that's you see maintained today for the most part. I know DC and Marvel have their own way of contracting, where I think they still do not allow their artists to freedom to control what they create or own what they create. But some of these other independent companies continue to be at the, have that sort of shared, profit sharing mentality. So when that revolution happened back in the early 90s, it really was a big shift, created a more level playing field, added another major player to the competition or the market itself. So you had, you know, more another player taking market share and setting more competition, and then you followed it up with, you know, like other companies like Dark Horse and DC and Marvel coming out with their sort of or edgier brands or other lines of books, and it just created it created more like segmentation and variation and all the things you want to see from like a really revolutionary move. And again, that huge shift of artists moving from the major publishers and creating their own companies, studios, that shift is what created this sort of comic book renaissance that really the 90s represented, and that we're kind of living in today. That's created the modern environment for comic books. So yeah, a pretty good pickup there. Now, this is okay. So this is a book I did not have. I'm trying to complete this 11-issue run of X-Men. Pretty much have all the books in this run, minus one variant cover of #1 and issues 4 and 5, which are the first and second appearances of Omega Red. Now, I think Omega Red, you see Omega Red being sold for like $50, and that's all kind of speculation that they're going to introduce him in comics. There are really no indications, and so that book kind of shot up, and then I think it's hovering down again. I will pick that book up. Again, it's one of those books that gets so much attention that for me, it's not that book. I mean, it's a first appearance of a cool villain. Omega Red is a cool villain. He was in the video games, and it just, again, I think for people collecting in the 90s and watching the, like animated series and all that, Omega Red was just a huge part of that. So there's no doubt about the significance of the character. But given, that print count, given how frequent you can, come across these books, I wouldn't spend more than 10. I mean, yeah, I would spend more than $10 trying to pick it up. I mean, it's fine if you did. If you spent $50 or whatever for the book, you have it in high grade and you love it, all the power to you. All the power to you. For me personally, I wouldn't want to pick it up for $50. I do want to complete the run, but in order to complete the run, I have to pick it up. And again, I think I'm going to be very patient on it. I could probably pick it up right now for around $20. Good high grade copy if I look for it online, or even just through the local networks here. Probably I could find a book in the $20 price range. It might not be like crispy minty book, but around an 8.5 copy. We'll see if that's something we can do. But 5, I'm hoping to pick up 5, again, around $3 to $5 for 5. That one shot up a little bit as well, and I think that one, in terms of cover art, is a lot cooler. I think it's probably apart from like 11, this cover, and of course the iconic #1 cover. In this entire run, I would say 5 is one of the coolest covers. But anyway, getting back to my point. Yeah, Jim Lee does Ghost Rider here on this cover. It's a great Wolverine Ghost Rider cover. And at the same time, so these two comics came out at the same time, they're really connected as part of this Ghost Rider and X-Men crossover story arc. And what's wonderful about these two pickups, again, they're connected, but you get these great, amazing depictions of the Ghost Rider. And man, generally does a really cool, scary looking rendition of Ghost Rider there. So yeah, I just thought that was cool. This is a newsstand copy. Just I picked this one up first at Half Price Books. They had this priced, so this was not at my local location, but the one in Seattle. Picked it up in a location in Seattle, and they don't necessarily, they have a comic book guide there that prices everything out. So again, this was undercover, but they price it out at $1, which is fine. I think if you can find it generally expensive for $1, it's a win. This one I did pick up for $2 again at the Auburn Mall from that seller, and so yeah, $2 is I think also another win. This is unrelated, but that's something I picked up earlier in an earlier haul. Okay, picked up the first edition of the Armory, and this one picked up for $2. Really clean copy as well. So I have now 1 and 2. I do think the second cover is the better cover, but this is the first in the run. You know, these are both like $3 books, but just great covers by Jim Lee, great art. So pretty cool. Jim Lee didn't do the interiors. A dude named Elliot Brown did all the interior work from writing and drawing. Again, the covers are what make these books significant. Some early Jim Lee goodness here. I believe this is the third or fourth book he did. Cover he ever did. Sorry, this is the 7th cover he did in comic books, 7th. So that's one of the earlier covers. He ends up doing like a bunch of covers on this Alpha Flight run. And then the first cover he does outside of Alpha Flight was on a book called Marvel Age, and it's number 67. So everybody knows the Marvel Age. He did the cover on Marvel Age 67. So that's his first cover outside of this initial Alpha Flight run. And as you know, his first cover in comic books is something I mentioned constantly on my channel, is Alpha Flight number 53. It's a Wolverine cover, and very hard to get that in high grade. And if you can, pick it up. I think people are coming around to the fact that, oh, that's Jim Lee's first cover. And that's I think it's probably, I mentioned many times before, his first work in comic books for Marvel is Alpha Flight 51, which is a cool book. It's also key, but I think in terms of collectability, if you had me, if I had a choice between getting 51 or 53, I'd pick up 53 every day over 51. Yeah, I want to add 51, don't get me wrong, 51's a big book, but I think 53 is the one with more value. But anyway, over time, we'll see if that holds true over time. So yeah, this is the 7th comic. I've got to say, his early covers are just, they're interesting. They're definitely not what I would associate in terms of Jim Lee. I mean, not that they're bad covers. They're not bad covers, but they're not like, you can tell he's just developing and getting a sense of what it means to do like professional. This is professional grade work, but what I'm saying is that the honing of those initial skills becomes more apparent in later works. And so, case in point, yeah, here's some transition from this to this. This is a great Conan cover. Now, he ends up doing covers for Conan the Barbarian. It starts with in Conan 218 and 219. Those are the first two covers he does. And those are beautiful covers. If you haven't had a chance to go look at Jim Lee's work on Conan 218 and 219, go check them out. 218 is a beautiful cover, absolutely beautiful. That's something we want to add to the collection. Significant. The other significant book in Jim Lee's Conan the Barbarian run, I would say, is the last book he did in the run, which is Conan the Barbarian 242. And that's close to the point he kind of begins his run. Like he's in the thick of his run for X-Men, so he's pretty vested in just working on that book, as well as Punisher War Journal. He's doing a bunch of stuff by the end of that Conan. Again, Conan 242 is last cover for the book. Really the two significant covers in his cover run for Conan are 218 and 242. 242 is just a close-up of Conan fighting Red Sonja, and just a beautifully drawn cover. So, but anyway, this is his third Conan cover in the run. This one has some writing on it. It's not particularly in that great shape, but I've been having trouble finding these books in the wild. Yeah, happy to pick up third Conan cover by Jim Lee, 220. I would like to have found 218 or 242. Those are the two big books. But he's got I think 4 or 5 Conan covers that he did over this time period, and they're all collectible. They're all great covers. So this is the first of however many he did for Conan that we are hoping to pick up. That being said, I would say this is the Jim Lee Book of the Hall. And the reason this is my choice is because, again, Jim Lee's Conan run doesn't come up that often. At least I haven't found it. I know there are a lot of posts for the 242, not too many posts for a book like this. And every time I go into the Conan long boxes or Conan runs, I am looking out for 242. I've been looking out for 218. I guess I haven't focused on these other runs as much. Partly because, I don't know, maybe it's just laziness, or just kind of forget to keep these Jim Lee issues top of mind. But we'll definitely do that. We'll definitely try to keep these the serial numbers in mind when we start digging, and hopefully we can pick more Jim Lee Conan books. All right, well, that was 17 books, kind of short and sweet. Let me know what you think about these pickups, and kind of support the channel again. If you can, give us a like, comment below, and subscribe and follow us. Thank you for joining me on this leg of the comic journey, and we'll see you in my final video when I go over my bronze and silver age books. So until then, we'll see you next time.